Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Carl Garth, and welcome to the Champion Chat with Councillor Alison Champion. Good afternoon, Alison. How are you today?
Hi, Carl. Happy to be here as always, and a happy new year to everybody. We are starting 2021. No, we're not. We're starting 2022. Sorry about that. I don't want to do that again.
See, and this is what happens in our whole last 2 years of COVID. It's flown so quickly. Everything's changed. We lose track of time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you've both been keeping and you've been keeping well during this the latest outbreak.
Mm-hmm. I have been. Yeah, I have been. I've been great. My boys are fine. We're in a good place at the moment. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's great to hear. And obviously, the council taking a lot of precautions with masks, etc.
Mm-hmm. Look, council is very aware of the latest government requirements, instruction. Just before, I'm sure everybody's aware, just before Christmas, about a week before Christmas, it was mandated that masks are to be worn indoors, any indoors, whether you're at work or home. So just a reminder to the community that that's what we're being asked to do. And so if we could follow that procedure, that would be really helpful and would alleviate some concerns. However, I'm going to put a flip side to that. Over the time, it's understood that some people are exempt from wearing masks for health reasons, for medical reasons. They are actually exempt. There are people who have applied for that exemption and have received that exemption and actually have the paperwork to justify it or prove it. If I could just ask all of our communities, not just Sherborne Ward, but all of our communities to understand that some people won't be wearing masks because it's actually really unhealthy for them to do that. They have respiratory conditions or something. So if I could just ask everyone to be patient with each other and understanding, and look, you know what, possibly just be in a conversation about people's circumstances, it would be really, really helpful for us to get through this in a more positive way.
Rather than a certain unnamed tennis star, there are definitely valid exemptions, but maybe we shouldn't go down that path.
I'm not touching that. I watch the tennis and I'm not touching that.
Excellent. Well, look, so today's Champion Chat is actually the first in our series on social change and local government support. And we're actually joined today in this chat with Councillor Rick Garotti. Welcome, Rick. How are you today?
Yeah, good, Carl. Really good. And thank you, Alison, for having me on the chat. I think it's a terrific thing that you do, just opening these chats up to the community and getting your colleagues involved, talking about some of the things that we're doing. And like I think you said to me, it's about opening up dialogue. So this will prompt conversation within our community, things that we're doing well, and things maybe where the community come back and say to you and to us, look, perhaps do it this way or look at this option. So, and really excited about the topic. Today's conversation, as you know, is something really passionate for me, jobs and social enterprise and just the terrific work we've done in that space. So, yeah, really excited. Thank you. Thank you both.
That's a pleasure. And I'm really rapt that you could be here to talk about this as well, because I know that you're passionate about this. And for me, coming from the education sector, the vocational education sector, it is a no-brainer. So love that you could be on here, Rick. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. I mean, and you're right, we do have some great areas to cover today. And I really would like to start with the Inclusive Jobs Program. Again, the way society, and we'll talk a bit more about this as we go through, but it's great to see councils really moving with the way society's changing, the more about giving back and giving and supporting, not just at a macro, but even micro levels. And with that in mind, look, I'd really love it if you could give us a bit of an overview of the Inclusive Jobs Program, what it is, what it covers, and how long has it been running for?
Yeah, happy to have a crack and Alison chime in as well. But I think so. We kicked off this program at council back in July 2018. So it's now been running for 3.5 years and well into our 4th year. The principle behind the program was that we as a council had identified that there were people in our community who were experiencing barriers to getting a job, whether it was a disability, whether it was the disadvantaged upbringing that they had, whether it was being Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, whether it was coming from a migrant community and having language and cultural barriers. And what we were finding is that there's a lot of education and training and mentoring programs out there, but people were lacking that, what we call the foot in the door, the first job where you get your foot in the door, you get to work somewhere, you get to have a real job experience, you get to make a real impact in the organisation, prove to the organisation and to yourself that you can work, and as a stepping stone then to get into your next job. And so all around from those communities, we were hearing that, look, we don't need more mentoring and support and education's great, but we really just want to have a chance to have a job and to get cracking and to make a contribution. And so with that in mind, then we decided to launch our Inclusive Jobs program. And what that was saying is that every year council takes on 10 to 15 people with disabilities and multicultural backgrounds, people facing barriers to employment. We give them real jobs in the council, whether it be in corporate services or in parks and gardens, customer service. They're paid. They are delivering a terrific service for us and our communities in there. And at the same time, we're giving, for what is a lot of them, their first real job. And it's fair to say that now into the 4th year of the program, it's having a tremendous impact. I think the figures show that 80 to 90% of people who come from our program who didn't have jobs before coming have ongoing work after leaving. And that's transformational. So, yeah, happy to elaborate further, but maybe just pause there, Carl.
Yeah, look, thanks for that, Rick. I'm really impressed in it because I've done a lot of research and noticed that for many LGAs, they're very much willing to leverage state and federal programs and essentially, as you said before, on their own websites, it's more mentoring, it's more here's some information without a tangible, for want of a better term, investment. I mean, you've mentioned 15 roles per annum. That's quite a sizable investment in skills training, in actually helping people in the community. And at an average, I would be guessing that we're talking somewhere around $600 to $1 million a year of investment back into the community from the council. Would that be a fair estimate?
Yeah, that's you're good with your figures, Carl. So about 15 people a year. We invest, about $1 million a year in the Inclusive Jobs program. I'm sure officers would correct otherwise, but that's about the ballpark. Yeah, it's an investment. When you think that, the council budget is about $150 million a year. As a councillor group and as a council, we're saying to the community, we want to take $1 million of what you give us to reinvest back into our community. But I've got to say that everyone I've spoken to and the feedback I get from residents and community groups and businesses is they see this as a worthwhile investment because it's real jobs being created for people within our community who are lacking, who are thirsting for an opportunity and needing that opportunity. And the benefits that come from them being skilled up and then being able to move into ongoing work themselves, that has an enormous impact on the Banyule community over an extended period of time. But the other thing too that I think is worth pointing out, Carl, is it's not a benevolent act that we're doing where we're just bringing people on and giving them a job for nothing. they're doing real work and high quality work. These are talented, capable, engaged and enthusiastic officers. We're getting a truckload of value from them as a council and as a community. So what I would be saying is, yeah, we've got an inclusive program. It costs $1 million a year. We're getting more than $1 million a year in value based on their output of what they contribute to the community. And then on top of that, all the transformation that comes from helping them on their pathway to long-term employment. I think this is a really successful model, and we're really hoping and encouraging that other councils see the value as well. Imagine if every council in Victoria, there's 80, we're doing 15 a year. Multiply that by 80, that'd be over 1,000 people a year in Victoria without jobs, getting jobs, making a contribution. And we know now in the pandemic, and I know I'm going on a big cast, so
No. This is what we're supposed to do.
Thing. We know now in the pandemic, the labour shortages that we're suffering. How, you know, we can't fill roles in all these different aspects of the economy. And what's holding it back? Well, it's not through lack of labour, because we know that we've still got hundreds of thousands of young people in particular that force. It's because they've not been given the skills, the training, the opportunity. So, you know, if you think about it, what we're doing in a small way is big for the Australian economy. So, yeah, we're excited about it, and we're very keen to now sort of see other councils embrace the opportunity and benefit that we've seen.
And look, I'm glad you used the term, like, you've used the term investment as opposed to cost. In fact, we both use that term, and it really is an investment. And that brings me sort of, like you've mentioned, after 6 months, the people who've gone through the program, you've got an 82% hit rate of people moving into permanent roles, either with another part of government or a private enterprise or whatever it might be, which is an extraordinary success rate. But other than those very tangible successes, what are some of the intangible benefits that can be seen across the community with this program?
So I'll give a case study that I find pretty inspiring. A young man who came through our program got a role in customer service. He then moved into an ongoing role, and I think even supervised the customer service team over a summer period. Anyway, this young person was completely disengaged, wasn't working, wasn't contributing, struggling at home. A year after the program, his mother bumps into our chief executive at the Woolies and says, "Oh, you know, I just met his girlfriend. He's got a girlfriend, he's dating, he's working, he's engaged." Transformational stuff, purely because one employer, being the council, decided to say, we're going to give you an opportunity and we're going to give you some support to realise that opportunity. So, yeah, we can talk facts and figures about 80% success rate, 15 people a year, etc. But it's real life case studies like that. The other case study was one personal to me, where I remember a young person, he got a gig in the governance team with a disability. His mum actually did the interview for him. So, and that's the thing, that we break down the barriers here. So it's very easy for you to engage in the program. But his mum went with him to the interview. Anyway, I was at the Greensboro RSL with a couple of colleagues, and I happened to just see him there, and he goes, "Oh, Rick, yeah, you know, I'm just enjoying a beer after a long week's work." And to see the pride on this person's face that he was there with the counsellor, that we both finished up the week of working, the pride in himself that he's part of it now. He's working. He's enjoying an end of week drinks. Yeah. I probably took that for granted, but there are people out there who've had those barriers and have put their hand up for jobs for so long and got knocked back and knocked back. For us to have given that to him, that's what makes it worthwhile for us, I believe, as a council. When we hear those stories and we see the real life benefit and transformation that it has.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And you've talked about a number of young people coming into the program. Are there any particular areas, future growth sectors that may interest potential applicants or young people looking to plan their future?
Yeah, so look, and we'll touch on this later as well, because we've got the social enterprise component of what we do, which really complements the inclusive jobs program. Look, our message is, I think the message is that, look, if you've been struggling to get a job, if you're wanting an opportunity, no matter your background, no matter your skills, no matter your competencies, apply to our program. We will try and find, the council will try and find an opportunity with you there. If it's not through the Inclusive Jobs program, it might be through the social enterprise work that we're doing. It may be through our social procurement, where with all our major contractors now, we require them to take on people as part of their contract, people experiencing barriers into employment. We will do, for people in Banyule who want a job, who want an opportunity, we're saying we're putting our hand up and we're going to make it as easy as possible for you. If you want to work, if you want to contribute, come to us and we will help you to do it. And that's about as simple a message as we can say, Carl.
And to follow up your question earlier, Carl, you know, what's an intangible? You know, Councillor Ricks made the point, there are human beings mostly just want to contribute, and they mostly just want to be valued. And that's just a sense. You can't put a price on that. You can't put a number on that. That comes out, that sense of achievement, of being valued, that sense of being able to contribute, the pride in being able to contribute, that comes out in the actions, and the actions are doing the good work and doing the work that's best and doing the work that's going to benefit more people than just themselves. So there's a massive intangible, having a job.
Well, I think you both touched on this. If somebody feels worthwhile, has money in their pocket, food in their belly, being valued, they become engaged. People then help us move society and that forward. If you're not engaged, you're generally taking a pot shot, but you're also not helping any situation. So, yeah, absolutely.
You nailed it there, Carl.
And look, Rick, you touched on something that I'd like to talk to you about a bit more. You talked about it as part of the social enterprise projects, where the procurement and the requirement with some of your suppliers to have job availability for certain number of Banyule members or Banyule City residents. With this program, where would you like to take it through to, with maybe growing further those strategic partnerships with private enterprises? What is it that you could see in the future?
Yeah, so I think, where we see things go, so we've, as part of our strategic plan, one of our strategic goals was to say, look, we want to be a social enterprise leader in Victoria and Australia. So if you're a social enterprise, and the reality is that social enterprise and the charity and not-for-profit sector, obviously they deliver terrific services to the community, but they're actually a very big part of the overall service economy, jobs, investment, etc. So we've said, well, look, we want to be a leader in facilitating, encouraging social enterprise to set up and run in Banyule. So over the same time that we've created the Inclusive Jobs program, Carl, we've also set up or helped to set up 8 social enterprise businesses across Banyule. So that's a combination of cafes. We're supporting Footscape and Boots for All. So these are local charities that do great work not only in Banyule but across Victoria for people with foot issues and accessing boots and accessible footwear. So Belfield, so that's a major, so Belfield is a major site where we've got a big community hub with social housing. I think we were one of the first councils in Victoria to say that we want to actually be part of creating social housing. And then as part of that hub, we're going to get another social enterprise cafe there. Rosanna Station. So the Rosanna Station upgrade, great example where we partnered with the state government and the LXRA. And the cafe there is a social enterprise cafe.
Okay.
Ivanhoe Library. So I can keep going on, but the reality is that we're seeing opportunities all the time now to activate social enterprise. And the premise behind that is that they then employ people that are experiencing barriers to employment, and the profits that they generate from their enterprises are reinvested back into those programs. So they're self-funding. So other than maybe some initial support from council, whether it might be a bit of infrastructure, an initial grant, they then take it upon themselves and they're self-funding and sustainable. So this is how we're getting a big multiplier effect, Carl. We're starting off with our inclusive program. We're expanding it out big with the social enterprise program. We actually want to create 1,000 jobs for people in our community experiencing barriers to employment over the next 5 years. We've done 150. And I think with people like Alison, our Deputy Mayor on the council, our Mayor, Liz Neely, great officer team. And I do have to just acknowledge the passion of the officers that are involved here, Carl, because all of this work would not happen if we didn't have dedicated, passionate individuals driving this. We're going to get to 1,000 jobs. That's 1,000 people whose lives have been potentially transformed through this work.
Sorry, and just to reiterate, that was 1,000 by what, 2025, was it?
That's right.
That's great. Well, you've actually covered off a number of my next questions, where we were going to talk about some of the enterprise projects that are running, and also the model that council's actually running under is, rather than run the social enterprises themselves, they act more of a market connector. In other words, facilitating those relationships between beneficiaries and new markets. But do you think that might then potentially expand where you're working with other councils to create a bigger social enterprise network, so it's not just within the Banyule?
Yeah, so that was we said as a council all along is that we want to walk the walk and not talk the talk. So if we're passionate about creating jobs for people with barriers to employment, we need to lead ourselves. And that's why we did inclusive jobs, because we're then saying, look, we're going to invest ourselves in employing people. Then it's expanded out to social enterprise. And like you said, Carl, in some cases, it might just be an upfront infrastructure grant. In the case of Rosanna Station Cafe, we helped negotiate the lease and secure that from state government. In the case of Footscape and Boots for All, we're actually lending out a staff member, an additional inclusive person there to work at their business. And the idea is that if they're successful in those businesses, they may then want to take them on themselves. But what we've done is that we've now created a framework and a toolkit that we've now sent out to all other councils in Victoria. So we've developed a lot of IP and methodology on how you do this.
Okay.
How you set up an inclusive program, how you structure it well, how you provide supports to social enterprise, And what we've also said to other councils is that our team and our team members are available to go out there and help implement their program as well. So with the capacity and the capability that's been built up in Banyule, we want to share that with the rest of the sector. So we wrote out, late last year, we wrote out to all the mayors and the deputy mayors of other councils. We've been having some really good conversations. So Whitehorse City Council, they came in for an interactive meeting with Banyule. They were blown away with what we're doing. And we can only hope, Carl, that a Whitehorse comes on board and then a Darebin, and then it just grows from there. Because like we've been talking about, we think this has transformational benefits, and we think that the investment for councils is manageable. Banyule's doing this on about $1 million a year. So yes, it's sizable, but it's manageable within the budget. And that's also a message to other councils. You can do it, and you can do it cost effectively.
And I think something that's really good to note there, Rick, is you've put the thought, you've put the structure, the infrastructure, the funding, and built the processes and the methodology to the point now where, as I understand it, the individual jobs program is now an award-winning jobs program in the state of Victoria.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, Algae Pro award-winning program. And the methodology is all documented there. So all the learnings, all the processes that the council had to go through, it's all there now. So it's a toolkit ready to hand over. So look, Carl, we hope that we're on the cusp of something transformational across the sector. I think there's a big debate happening at the moment in the broader economy about, opening up immigration again and encouraging people from overseas to fill labour shortages. That's great, and we support that. But then there's also this debate that's happening about, well, what about all the people that are left over here that want an opportunity, that lack the skills, lack the training, lack the support? Well, maybe within this debate, we're encouraging the policymakers out there, some of the big decision makers, look at what Banyule's doing. This might be an opportunity where you can, where you can find workers and you can find skills and expertise within our own communities and harness it. That's what we're doing every day here in Banyule. So, yeah, and that's why I think the work that you're doing, Carl and Alison, through these podcasts and helping to get the message out there is so important. Because I really do think that there's an opportunity out there for others to tap into the success that we've had.
Actually, Rick, you make a really, really good point in that while this is an opportunity for our residents to apply and possibly receive a position, council also benefits by employing someone or people who want to contribute. They have that attitude. So council actually benefits from those people who are applying in the long term as well. So it's actually a two-way benefit.
Absolutely.
And look, so Rick, I'm a potential social enterprise. How do I go about seeking assistance from council with, where do I start? How do I get going along this journey?
Well, you've got a great relationship with Alison. I think, is Alison your ward councillor?
No, she's not. But let's just say that I'm actually in your ward, and I've got this great idea for a social enterprise project, suggesting that I engage with you first and engage with my local councillor, and that's the best way to then be the next step.
Yeah, so we've got a team. So we would put yourself, Carl, in touch with someone in the social enterprise team, and they're there to provide advice and assistance. So to look at what you're doing, it might very well be that we've got someone finishing up in our inclusive program that's just done a role in media and comms, and we're saying, look, Carl, they've finished up, they're great. maybe there's an opportunity you take them on a day or 2 days a week. Or it might be that you say, look, I want to do this, but I need a bit of support or I need a bit of funding. Our team is there to support exactly someone like you, Carl. And the more businesses locally that we have that want to put their hand up and come and talk to us about it, that's what we're here for. Then this is where the real benefit comes, because council can only do so much. But when we start getting businesses out there like yourself on this journey, that's when it really multiplies. So the short answer is come and have a chat with Alison and myself. We'll put you in touch with our officer team, and the team's there ready to serve and help businesses like yourself to make things happen.
Okay. Look, Rick, myself, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the community would love to get behind social enterprise projects, help them be successful, help them grow, etc. One of the biggest problems I think people have is actually finding them. You know, not even knowing about them or which businesses are actually involved in giving back to the community, supporting the community, working with the community. Because I think a lot of people, it's proven that in the last 5 to 10 years, people are now thinking more micro than macro. They want to support their communities. What do you think might be something that council could potentially be doing to make it easier for people to find, or for council to help promote these businesses that are part of the program, so that local residents can actually become part of the support?
Really good question, Kat. And you just, and this is the conversation, because you're right. If I think as an example, the cafe at Rosanna Station, I don't think the general community would know that that's a social enterprise. I don't think that they would know that it's employing people with barriers to employment, and that all the profits that it generates goes back into those communities. So maybe, we've got to look at our physical branding. We've got to have something there that is in the shop fronts that says this is a Banyule supported social enterprise or something, so that people know, oh wow, if I go there, I'm supporting them, I'm benefiting them. We're going to have to take that away, Carl. Maybe that's where we tap into a bit of your expertise around communication and engagement, because I do think that while we know that we're doing good work and we're getting things happening, 90%, 95% of the general community out there would not have a clue, one, what a social enterprise is, two, that they're operating in Banyule, and then three, how to support them. So we've got work to do there.
Yeah. And
go on.
Sorry, please, Alison.
No, I was just going to say, you referred to the little social, the cafe at Rosanna Station. Yeah, it's, even though the name for us is clearly it's social enterprise, but for those who aren't aware, social could just be the meeting of people meeting together. So it's actually a very, very clever name. I was actually there only a couple of hours ago, sorry, I wasn't sharing a coffee with Councillor Tom. We had our own coffees, but we were there sharing some time together and catching up after a few weeks of not seeing each other. And, the coffee's great. It is great. And as Rick says, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know it is a social enterprise and a council-backed business. So it probably is worth us labelling, putting signage up a little bit more regularly, so that people are aware, other businesses are aware, this is a little bit different. How do I tap into this? How do I become like this? This is becoming more popular. What is this? I'm seeing these signs around. What does that mean? And allow for that conversation. Yeah.
Look, absolutely. I mean, if you look at long-term businesses, I say businesses, but really we're talking social enterprise initiatives. The Salvation Army and Savers are hugely supported in this community. People will either donate or they'll go and shop there because they know that it's for the greater good. And I think a lot of people deep down want to help, want to support, have that, I'll call it a charitable mindset, but it's not even really charitable. It's that community mindset where you will look out for your neighbour.
Mm.
And I think that's really.
And I would actually say, agree with you, Carl, that it's not charity. I mean, at the end of the day, when you go to one of our cafes that's a social enterprise, I mean, you're getting a good quality product. The coffee, the little social, it's very good coffee. So this isn't charity. You're paying for a service. You're paying for a good quality service. But what it's about saying is that the power of your dollar is powerful. And you can put your dollar into businesses and enterprises that build up our local community. And that's what you're doing when you support social enterprise. The flip side of it as well is that if you're a young person out there and thinking, where do I apply for a job? Maybe too, you might think to yourself, oh, maybe I might have struggled with a few other places. Maybe I'll put my application, I'll hand in my resume to the little social. So yeah, we've got to improve promotion locally within the community. I would agree with that, Carl.
But look, I must say, great initiatives. It's good to see Banyule taking the lead on that. As a marketer, we do a lot of research across demographics, and if we look at, the Gen Ys, the Gen Zs, for them it really is becoming all about sustainability, support, growth, as I said, at that micro level, because they know that the roots that you build in your community, the stronger they are, the more support, the more prosperous your community whole becomes, not just from a dollar perspective, but as you've mentioned in the other intangibles, confidence, engagement, projects and plans that benefit everybody. So it is good. I would have to ask, where did the impetus or the idea come to council to actually move away from the generic LGA type model to becoming someone who's becoming, or a council that's become more community focused, really in touch with where society's headed?
So that I suppose the impetus probably came from us as a group of council, and it was done. So as I said, we initiated it June 2018. So the previous council, and it was driven by the councillor group. I think that and it was something I took to the group, and it was more a story that I took to the group that prompted more conversation, and then a bit of a sense about, well, what can we do about it? But it was an experience I had years ago in engaging with a local resident and asking them, look, what is it that I can do to help? And he said, look, I'm happy. I'm a happy local resident, Rick. But, look, actually one thing is I've got an older daughter. She's in her 30s. She's got a disability. She's never been able to get a job. And it's always disappointed me, Rick. And it's probably too late for her now. But if there's one thing that the council could do that would be awesome, would be to try and find jobs or opportunities for someone like her. And I just remember that stuck in the back of my mind, and I took that to Alison, and I took it to Mark Dipper, a colleague, and Craig was on, and Wayne at the time, the councillor group at the time, and just said, look, this has resonated with me, that this is what a resident's just asked. Can we do something? And as a group, then we then tasked our CEO and our director, Alison Beckwith at the time, and said, we want to do something. And we don't want to do it in the old way of just another mentoring program or another training program or referring people to other agencies. We want to do something ourselves. And our CEO at the time Simon, his daughter had a disability, so he got it conceptually as well. And I just think it was the right councillor group and the right executive that came together and said, let's do something special and have a crack. And that's exactly what we did, Carl.
Look, I think it's definitely something that the Banyule City can be proud of. Not just for having the vision, but then seeing it through, getting it executed. And then I think, we've covered it in this podcast, the results speak for themselves. So, congratulations to you for having the courage to do it. It would be very easy to sit back and just go, look, we'll just worry about collecting waste and fixing roads. And I think the good thing is that, you've got your eye on that. You've got your eye on the future. And, I think that these are initiatives that people need to know more about, and where they can get behind them, help them, be part of them, can only make them better. So,
well said, Carl. And we're going to look out for your phone call or your email after this podcast, so we can put you in touch with the team. We're going to follow you up on your words and get you involved.
Yeah.
So positive action immediately after this podcast.
Fair enough. We'll have to have a follow-up with that, will we? I'm on the spot now. I better hurry up and get on with it. Well, look, I'd like to thank you both, Alison and Rick, for your time today. And I think we've covered a great deal of really interesting topics. And look, for everybody listening to this podcast, I hope you found it quite valuable. I'd like you to join us next time on the Champion Chat. Our next podcast in our series on social change and local government support, we'll be looking at Banyule City's urban food strategy. Rick, love to have you again on sometime. I should say. It's been great today, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much for
Thank you,
being here,
Carl.
Rick. Yeah, and thanks,
thank you,
Carl.
Deputy
Always a
Mayor.
pleasure.
Really good work you're doing.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye, everybody.